In today's video, we're going to take a look at security settings. This menu allows you to configure security-related settings while using ERP, such as managing login, activity, and file. It is under User Customization, Configuration, and Security Setup. Let us look at it one by one. Under the Set Login restriction, you can temporarily block access to eCount. By using the Use feature and clicking Save, other IDs, apart from master IDs, cannot log in. This means that master IDs can log in, only normal IDs cannot. Going back, you can also restrict time. By clicking this button, you can set up the time or date. This means that you can block off weekend access if you want. Do it like so. And you can set up the time as well. If you want to set up an exception, click Setup. Select New and give it the name and select a condition. You can select an ID. Select the ID and settings. So this ID cannot log in at this date. Make sure to click Save. The next option is the Login IP control. This means that you can choose which IP to allow IDs to log in. You can set it by individual or group. You can select the ID and select the IP type as well. So input the IP and choose the access type and decide whether this ID can log in or not. Make sure to save. The next one is the password settings. You can choose different levels of password security. For more information, check out this hyperlink. You can also set the interval as well. You can set it up to 12 months, but we recommend using 1 month for security. You can also decide to allow or not allow the use of same passwords and how many times it can be used. And if you want, you can allow people to have the Change Next Time button available. If you do not want that, you can press Do Not Allow. Now, make sure to turn off the feature if you're not using the temporary access block. Once this ID logs in, the notification regarding a password change will show up. Since I did not allow the Change Next Time feature, the ID is forced to get a new password to save and log in. The next is a two-step verification setting. You can choose to use the two-step verification settings by using a mobile phone. Once the ID logins, you have to get the verification code. If you have received it, enter the code and you can register the mobile device later. So log into the device and refresh using your mobile device, and you can set up the approval request if you want. Next is session timeout. You can choose the hours between 1 to 24, and if that time passes, it will automatically log out the user. You can also set a multi-login ID as well. Choose a company code that you can allow access. If you set up the multi-login company and go to the user setup and select the ID, and under the User Information tab, you can add a multi-login ID. Once you click New here, once you have set up the company code and user ID, click Save. As you can see, if you press the profile icon and click on the multi-login, you can choose the company to log in. Furthermore, you can set to allow duplicate access from the same ID. If you do not want to allow one shared ID to log in simultaneously, click the Allow Duplicate Access from the same ID and click Do Not Allow. And choose whether you want access from same IP. Now, if you log into the same ID, it will show you the login status. If you press confirm, it will log in this ID and log out the other ID. Lastly, you can check the login history. You can set up the time period where after this amount of days, if the ID logs in, it will send a report to the data proprietor. So if you want to set up a IP recognition range, you can set it from A range to D class, which is A, B, C, and D. So by selecting it to D class, you're allowing all 4 points, and if you want 3 points, then select C. Make sure to save. The last one is the security setup. If you press the print and download restriction and have it allowed, you can see the result in user customization, user setup, and security history status. You can see the history like so. Now going back to the security setup, if you want to set up an exception, you can press New, give it a name, and set up the condition item and select it as an ID. You can select that ID and block it. Now, if we log into that ID and try and attach a file, it will say no authorization. Lastly, you can set up whether to notify any restriction violations. You can set it to use and choose the notification target.